Okay. Middle America is not attractive.
They're not?
Middle America is largely married.
Okay, I think we're on the same page then. People sort of, we get stuck to reality shows sometime and think we're supposed to, I got a degree in a house, so I'm supposed to have Idris Elba or his twin.
Well, I mean, if you notice, okay, so you remember your friends from high school, right? And you remember how they had all of these qualifications for, if she's going to lock me down, she got to be this, that. She's got to have an ass like that.
That's all we really looked at. Stop right there. That's really what a man. Simple creatures. We want to be fed. We want you to laugh at us, give us some. That's it. To get us.
I know a place where we can go, where I can satisfy you, mind and soul. I made a promise, girl, to serve you right. Just give your undivided attention tonight. Come go with me. I'll take you there. Let me take you there. Where love and fantasy fill the air. Come on, baby. Wake up to sunlight. If you play, if you ask, I will do. It's all up to you, baby. No need you wanting for a single thing. Just tell me what you want, I'm servicing. Come day or night, I got just what you need. Pure satisfaction, baby, wait and see. Come go with me. I'll take you there. Let me take you there. Love and fantasy. I got you. Wake up to sunlight. If you play, yes, I will do. It's all up to you, baby.
I see myself moving on the thing.
What's going on, people? Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Kris the Critic Show. If you'll notice, I normally have the beautiful Gina B to my right. My co-host, my normal co-host, will be joining us shortly. Right now, we have Letitia. Letitia, welcome to the Kris the Critic Show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to need you to talk up, get all up in the microphone, get close to it. Don't be scared of it. But I'm just saying. Thanks for joining the show. How was your week? You got big shoes to fill sitting in that seat.
Oh, I do. I know I do. My week's been good. Another normal week.
Glad. So, as I said, Gina B is out. The topic for tonight is part 2. And Letitia actually gave Gina B and I this idea. For better or worse, or for better or better. Because some people seem to ride out on these relationships a little too quick and don't stick to the vows that they stood before God and the rest of their family and have given. Jamal Matuka, I did not get rid of Gina B. She will be joining us from a remote location later. But, Letitia, since you were the inspiration for this particular segment of our show, can you tell the viewers why you gave me that idea and a little bit about what's going on in your life, and then we'll take the show from there.
Okay. So again, thank you for having me. And the reason why I gave you this topic is because we were talking crap in your house, and you said give you a topic.
As per usual.
So that's what I did.
But why this particular topic?
So this particular topic brings home for me.
Okay.
Because people ask me all the time, why do I stay married to someone who has been sick for 14 years?
Right.
And so I thought, well, because I gave him my word in front of God, for better or for worse.
And so.
And in sickness and in health.
So you are living out some of the sickness portion. I
did the better and worse too.
Okay. So, I mentioned a little bit earlier. I threw this topic up. Is that Gina B?
Gina B is on. They missed you, girl.
Hey, Gina B.
How y'all doing?
We are wonderful.
Good.
Thank you for joining from the remote location. I tell everybody Gina B is a baller, so she's somewhere doing big things and just couldn't be here because we know this is a big priority in her life, being on the Kris the Critic.
But I am here. I'm just not sitting next to you today, and I wish I could be in the studio audience, but here we are.
So, Gina B,
yes.
Now you're back to being a guest, Letitia, because I got my co-host is sort of there. You're a guest now. You heard what Letitia just said, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that most people who get married have that sort of resolve these days?
No, I don't. I think a lot of people are getting married and everything's good, and as long as everything's good.
Right.
And things get to be bad and unbearable, then they start saying, but this is my life and I have the right to live my life. It's like, well, you took a vow and you have to honor. I mean, you don't have to, but you should really. You know, if you're going to take the marriage vow, you should just let out the vow.
So
it's very admirable.
Let me ask my guest, what do you think is different about people getting married today? We talked about last week, divorces are, 50% of people who get married end up getting divorced. What do you think is different? She is a ride or die. Jamal Matuka says, shout out, you are a ride or die woman.
Thank you.
What do you think is different than people getting married now?
Social media.
Really? What do you think? Be more specific.
Well, I think that people believe what they see. So people are fronting on social media or Real Housewives of whatever. No one knows their backstory. Women are, not all women.
Go ahead and say it, because they get mad at me. Kris is over here being misogynistic.
They leave their family or thinking that someone else has it better. But guys do too.
Right.
So they think they have somebody else has it better, and then they're going out looking or searching for this world that doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. Big Mama gone. The one who stays through thick and thin, that day is almost dead.
Because they're about 40 years old, most big mamas these days.
The average age
who had a birthday yesterday.
I mean, it's almost, I think that divorce is it's so common, people find it acceptable. You know, back in the day, it used to be sort of a stigma. Oh, man, I'm going through a divorce. People feel bad for you, and you're like, oh, I failed. Now it's like, oh, well, let me change. I got to buy a new shirt.
Oh, no, and they're having parties.
Right.
They're going on trips, celebrating a demise of a marriage.
And we talked a little bit about this before. I just think I told you this, I use the analogy. If I murder somebody, right, it's easier for me to murder the next person. I mean, so divorce rates are even higher on people who've been divorced prior.
We don't agree with anyone staying in a marriage that's miserable. If
I
you're
agree.
miserable, you're being abused, any of that, hey. But just because your husband isn't fun anymore, he wants to sit on the couch, or just because she gained a little weight or she didn't make it over to the Dominican yet, that might not be a reason.
How much weight?
What?
I'm just playing.
I mean, realistically, the grass is greener where you water it, right?
Uh-oh.
And so a lot of people think, oh, the grass is greener over there. And that's not always the case. You have no idea what's going to happen. No one knows what the future holds. And so if you decide that you're going to have a partner, you're going to marry that person, then what you're agreeing to is, I'm going to water the grass that's on my side of the fence, and I'm going to make the best of it.
It's
right.
just grass.
So Gina B, I'm going to pick on you a little bit.
That's fine.
You and I last week, you saw the show last week, right, Leticia? Mm-hmm. So we cited some of and we can revisit them, top reasons for divorce. For those of you who are just joining us, some of those were lack of commitment, infidelity, arguing too much, conflict. Those are the top three. Surprisingly, finances were fourth, but still one of the top reasons. So Gina B, you have a reason that you said you are out of a marriage. Last week.
Yeah, well, I mean, what I said last week about why I would be out of a marriage?
Correct.
Infidelity. You said that, that means you stopped watering the grass on my side. And we talked about how it would be till death do us part because there would be a death.
So what if they just said, I'm quitting my job. I don't like working anymore. This job's making me miserable. And money became a problem.
I would try to figure out how we're gonna be in it together to make more money. I mean, here's how I feel about that. My personal situation is that I always have a little something in my own back pocket, right?
Got it.
So I'm not going to put the finances 100% in the hands of the other person. Therefore, if that's important to me, then I take a lot of responsibility for it.
What if arguing becomes just a whole bunch, too much and unbearable?
I think that's a signal that you need to work on things. I mean, if you're arguing all the time, what's the core of the argument? Like, why? What is it that you're really upset about?
But everybody don't leave because of infidelity.
And that's sort of what I'm getting at. I'm trying to let her know that infidelity is just a different type of problem. I think our society puts too much. I'm not justifying infidelity, but our society definitely puts too much on that. That necessarily shouldn't be a deal breaker. Somebody whooping your ass.
It's different.
That's a deal breaker.
It's a deal breaker.
Everybody
has their non-negotiable.
I got it.
So your non-negotiable should be spoken about before you get married.
Absolutely.
So that you already know.
And even if someone falls short of grace, right? What if the marriage is great?
I don't know her.
Right. Or him. Hold on. Or him. Right?
Or him.
Feminati will not overrun this show. So, but let's say it's a good marriage. It's grounded in something positive, and it began on solid foundation, right? You're married, kids, life's good. Maybe you go through a rough patch where you're not communicating. He or she goes on a trip, cheats on someone. You throw away the whole life because of that. That's what you subscribe to, Gene?
Throw away your whole. Well,
you say, hey, let's get divorced, take the kids' fathers away, I'm moving, you move, get out, all of that.
As far as I'm concerned, is that he put the relationship on the roulette wheel. So when you trample someone's boundaries, then you have to suffer the consequence of the boundaries being violated, right? Like if you know that's your significant other's thing, their deal breaker, then don't throw your relationship on the crap table. And I mean, is that more important to you, going to the DR and getting some ass? Or is it more important to you to have a good relationship with your spouse? You're choosing.
First, I'm not even making it a man or woman thing necessarily, because there are women who cheat too, right? Because every man is not, all these cheating men ain't sleeping with the same one woman, right? There's some other cheating women out here. So I'm not legitimizing it. I think it's wrong. But I just don't know if I were in that position. I'd just say, hey, kids, I love you. I love this whole life. But you know what? I know mommy's been perfect, but she slipped that one time, so I'm leaving.
Again, everybody has a non-negotiable.
I know. That's just hard for me to think about.
You don't know people's situation, because some people's situations, you don't know if they already talked about it. So it's and you're out looking in thinking, oh, how could she stay, right? Because people leave because I believe people are worried about what other people are going to think.
And people usually don't leave because of one thing.
Right.
I'm telling you, it's either it's been something bad has been going on. We've been having this issue, that issue, and that issue. Here's the final straw.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You didn't communicate. You didn't make any money. Oh, now you got the heroin problem. You know, now I'm out. So that's all I was saying, Gina B. I really wasn't.
Was
picking
that
on
right,
you.
Gina B? Or is that's it? One time he slips up, he's out.
Well, that's usually a symptom of a bigger problem. And it usually isn't that, honestly. It usually isn't, I just did it the one time, because usually what they get caught doing is the tip of the iceberg. So,
I don't know about women, but men are pretty simple. I can see a guy doing that. I can see a guy looking at a tree like, you know what? That little hole in the tree looks sort of straight. We'll try it out. They that simple, some of them. Hopefully you're not married to one, but it happens.
Yeah, that's fine.
Shout out to Vicky Wilson, guest on the show.
You gotta you gotta be able to pick well. That's the thing. You see a lot of people who've been divorced many times. I think they don't pick well.
And that is, Gina B, thank you for that. I think that is the crux of our society right now. We got into, I put up a promotional, and you saw, I put up a little clip, people. Hey, Kris the Critic show's coming on. I'll be talking about, for better or for worse, better than that. A friend of mine, who shall remain nameless, a good friend of mine, goes into, well, marriage is better for men and marriage is better for women, and we're debating back and forth over this. But ultimately, how well did you pick? Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes people make bad choices and they want to blame.
Bad pickers. They choose for the wrong reasons, and they get married very quickly, and then they get into the marriage like, wait, this isn't what I thought I was getting myself into. Well, I'll just get divorced, and move on to the next guy.
So now let's go back to this for good health and bad health and all of that. Letitia, obviously, because I know your husband, great guy. He picked well because he picked a winner. What sort of traits do you think you all looked for in each other that people could learn from? Because right now, people get married because she got a big booty or, he got some money and all these other reasons that don't work and that they think are important on their checklist. What do you think should be atop of people's checklist?
Well, I'm just going to speak for Letitia. Number one, he had to be a God-fearing man. That's important to me.
Y'all taking these notes? Go ahead.
Because I wanted him to love me the way he should love the church.
Right.
That's what the Bible say. I try to live by it. Am I perfect? No. Far from it.
We know that.
Okay, mofo. But that was important to me. And then I wanted someone that I believed that he was done chasing tail.
Okay.
So I married older.
Okay.
I didn't want to marry nobody my age because I figured.
I think that's smart. I got 3 daughters. I hope they marry a little older because men are a little emotionally slower than women.
I needed him to be like, I'm ready to sit on that couch. I've had enough tail to last me a lifetime. Okay. So that's what I could make my own money.
Now, because I know where you live, I know you all do okay. Mm-hmm. I noticed you didn't name money. No. You didn't name looks. None of that stuff that we normally hear. You didn't name, he had to be this tall, he had to be this handsome, he had to be this that.
I've dated them all.
I want to know what the audience, I'm sorry. Jamal Matuka says booty and money can't be metrics. They can be on a weighted scale, correct. But I want to know what the folks out there think. But Gina B, do you think that sounds what most people are looking at? Or you think it sounds good, but it's not what's real? I'm just curious. I like what she said.
I do too. I think that you need to know what you're going to work well with, and the less superficial you are, the better off I believe you're going to be with who you choose as a spouse. Because we've all seen the men who, when you're younger, she's got to have an ass like this, she's got to look like that, and then you see who they marry, and good women, not necessarily what they set out to marry, right? And that's a good thing. I applaud them for that, because it isn't like they're marrying ugly women or anything like that. But there are more things to a life partner than what they look like. Money is tricky because we had a whole show on this, Kris, not that long ago, on having matched ambition. And, I think that that's important for a couple to, like, I want to work harder. Well, I don't, you have to align that. And usually money follows that. So that's something that I think people should think about before they decide to get married. But yeah, no, I think that you get married for reasons. You know what? Actually, are we taking a break? Are we taking a little
we got
rest?
like 1 more minute. I want to hear you. I want you to finish your thought, and then we'll take a short break, and then I'll come back.
Okay.
After.
No, I was just going to say, like, if you pick for the right reasons, like pick a person that complements your personality, pick someone who makes you laugh, pick someone who can be your best friend, who, my fiance and I laugh all day. Right. And that gets us through, I think, a lot of situations.
So I think that was on the money. So here's a question that I have for both of you. And when we come back, we're going to talk about it. I heard both of y'all talk about how men chase this and the other. But I think that both sexes do it because I hear women say what you're saying. But as soon as Mr. Good Lookings walks through the club, he's sleeping with somebody. They didn't care about his character. They didn't care about him sleeping with 10 women. But you know what? He looked like he might be able to do some things, and he was handsome. He was 6'3". Does that happen, or is it just men? Because all I heard is men.
Are we taking a break?
We're going to take a break, and we'll talk about it when we come back.
All right.
2 minutes, y'all. 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere.
WIIFTBP. WIIFTBP. Media's just for you and me. WIIFTBP. Media's just for you and me.
I've never been lucky at love, no never. I've never been good at holding on. A heart broken so many pieces, but I'll just keep on moving on because I'll never give up on love, no never, no never. And I'll never give up on trust, whatever come what may. All that I wanna say, that true love's gonna come my way. Alright, I'm looking for a lover for me. Could you be the one for me? Yeah, alright, just looking for forever for me. For me. See, I never ever thought that I could love again. I never ever thought that I could ever win. But don't ever give up, no, and don't ever give in. See, I pray that true love finds me in the end. I'll never give up on love, I will never. And I'll never know on trust, I will never. Looking for a lover for me. See, I'm looking for a lover for me, yeah. And it's alright.
Welcome back to the Kris the Critic Show. We have Gina B at home, and next to me in the studio, we have Letitia. If you are just joining the show, we're talking about marriage, for better or for worse, or for better or for better. the idea is that people get married not knowing that marriage, and I always tell people, you're going to have a rough patch. You don't know when, you don't know how long, but it will definitely happen. Before we get back into that, these ladies, these lovely ladies, were picking on men, talking about how superficial we were.
Not picking on men.
I was not.
Sounded like it.
There are a lot of women that
I hear women say all the time, they talk about these values that they want.
Look at that.
And then all of a sudden, they start dating whoever. I just want to know why that happens.
Well, women are drawn to physical looks just as much as men. I don't know that we were kind of giving that a sex-linked trait, right? I think that there were a lot of people who make bad decisions with their significant others. Okay. I mean, I don't know that we were. I don't think that we were picking on men per se, because there are plenty of women. There are a lot of women, and we all know these women who they see the fine man and but girl, he's so fine and he's just fine. He ain't got no money, and then they end up married to a hay burner, and they get mad later.
Right? They knew who he was.
You know what I mean?
They knew who he was when they met him. Shout out Lisa Maiden Howard joining the show.
Got to jump off.
She said, I wanted a man who was fun and funny, attentive, a visionary, someone who would pray for our marriage, a family man who valued his relationship with me, our children, God. See, that is a person who chose correctly. Yeah. But as soon as you say something like that to some people, well, I got to be attracted to him. like I suggested that they go talk to the ugliest person in the world.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
But why do people always go there when you say that? Hey, get somebody with some values. I don't want nobody, like only ugly people have values. I don't know why they do that. But Gina B, you had a question for Letitia at the break.
Yeah, I did. I think we should probably back up a little bit because Letitia, and I know a little bit of the story. But for the audience, I would love to talk about getting your business for a second, right? And figure out. So tell us about when you got married, and then you said your husband's been sick. So tell us about like the differences before and after, and what your life is like now versus before, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, that's not a problem. So my husband has been sick. We've been together 21 years, and out of the 21 years, he has been sick 14. And before the 14, 2.5 of those years, he was in Iraq and Afghanistan. So he got hurt in Afghanistan. So he came back. Physically, he didn't look hurt, but he ended up with a brain injury. So we found that out. And then it just got worse. He constantly deteriorated. So now we had to have that hard conversation. I was only 31. I was 31 when we found out. And he told me if he gets too sick that, he wanted me to date, and I was too young to have to deal with this because, again, my husband's older. And he appreciated if I, stay with him. And I told him, absolutely, I'm going to stay with you. And so we had to move back to Chicago because we weren't living here, so I can get some support closer to my family. And then he rapidly deteriorated, so now he's in a wheelchair and all that good stuff. So not to belabor that sad story. So our life was a roller coaster from the beginning. I found out, he was in the military. So I always have a running joke that I'm waiting for someone from Korea to come knock on my door and say, "You're my daddy." Because he was in the military, and he was a good-looking man. So that's why funny. I said, better for worse. But it's
you always wanted a little Korean half black kid anyway.
You listen.
Now, do you have children?
We do. We have 2 children together, and then he had 2 children prior to me, and I didn't know he had 2 children prior to me.
Do they like you?
I didn't know he had 2 children prior to me.
Oh, well, you know now.
Did he know?
Who knew? Other than the kids.
Who knew? The kids didn't know either.
Okay, it happens. So when I said he was a good-looking man.
Yeah. And he was in the military, so no shout out to our vets. But so that's why I said it's better for worse.
So is it just you as the primary caregiver?
Yeah, because he's feeling 100% disabled.
So I've never been in that situation. I applaud you for being there. How much of that do you like? Does it get tiring? Because you see people like, oh, man, I'm just tired of this, or I wish I had some help, or I want out. Do you ever have those thoughts? Not that you would do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm human. Absolutely. And then, I mean, again, 14 years of this is not like this just happened overnight. So we still have children, and we have, like I said, we have 4 children together. I love all of them. So we were joking earlier, but I love all of our children. And I'm their example. Right? So how I handle this is how I hope they would handle. When you make a commitment, it's a commitment.
And I think more young people need to see that, and shout out to you for recognizing that, hey, I'm making some decisions in part because I know my children are watching me.
Absolutely.
Where a lot of times I think today's society is so much that, well, I got to live my life. Yeah. And don't really care that, hey, somebody who admires you is looking up to you and will probably do things similar to how you, or handle things similar to how you handle.
Well, that's our generation, right? We watched ours, and that's why we have social media.
True. Shout out to Brandon Howlett. Thanks for joining, B. Man, so I think, Gina B, we don't see enough of this on social media, right? I think if a lot of men knew, man, I'm going to probably go before, men do die before women. It would help if I found somebody with some sort of conviction like this to help me when I'm older. I mean, not primary reason, but I'd like to think that if something happened to me like that, Mrs. Critic.
She's there.
Yeah. She makes her boyfriend live like around the block. No, I'm just playing. I'm not as nice as your husband. I'll be calling my homies up. Hey, man, look, I don't care what's going down. Y'all better jump, dude.
No, he understands.
I ain't as nice.
He understands, and he knows I date, so he understands. But it's not that many men. I mean,
they're not coming over like, hey, y'all want breakfast? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I'm open book. I don't lie. It is what it is.
All right, well, we talk now.
But
I won't even ask.
But I don't disrespect my home.
Well, there you go. That's what
I have children.
There you go. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, right. I don't disrespect my home.
How old are your children?
So our oldest is 25. So she's 25, and then 25, 22, 19, 14.
Okay. You count the other 2 kids?
Oh, yeah, they're mine too.
How old are the Koreans?
I said, do they like you?
His daughter does. His son, mama. I got the baby mama drama. That's another show.
Well, that's what we do it all. We talked about dating people with kids, marrying people with kids.
Right. That's a whole different.
That's a whole nother story.
I mean, that's that baby mama scenario is not for the faint of heart. But so you date, and so when you meet men, what do you tell them?
I tell them what I just told you all. I tell them the truth. Yeah.
Like you do.
Mm-hmm.
And do they say, damn, you a rider?
They go, I think initially they think, oh, she just want to be creeping on her husband. Like those girls you was talking about
they
earlier.
think they about to come up.
They think they about to come up. And then I have to hurt them like, yeah, I'm not that chick. So now they mad as hell. Like, wait a minute.
Well, so not to say that you would be, but if anyone had an excuse to say,
but I mean, no.
I get it. Just want a coffee date every now and then.
Yeah, I like to go out and, go to plays and stuff like that. But doesn't mean I'm about to jump in your bed because I can't jump in his. That don't make sense.
I got you.
Yeah. And so now you're the primary caregiver. So do you have home care so that you get a break?
I do. The VA helps a little bit. That's a whole nother topic, but they help a little bit. I'm thankful for what I get. And then I have other resources that I have to, to take care of them because I still have to work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, anyway.
Gina B, you do a little bit of this. I mean, your dad isn't sick, but he's elderly.
Yes.
And I give you a ride, and I drop her off. She makes sure she checks on him. She brings him food. She keeps the place clean. I think all that is admirable. I think, but I don't think it's somehow I'm using people in general, seem to be losing that, you know?
Yeah.
Shout out to Mrs. Critic. She said that's why the divorce rate is so high. Please be more specific, please.
Probably selfishness. You know, like there are people who, you know, they allow their parents to rot in nursing homes, right? I mean, because they want to live their lives. Like there are people who wouldn't do what you're doing, Letitia, because it's like, well, I have a life too, and what am I supposed to do with my? Well, you know, you have commitments, right? Like, you know, I would never dare let my father be in anyone's nursing home. I'm like, sir, that is your senior living facility, like where you are. And that's, I'm sure, the same way you feel about your husband. Now, how much older is your husband than you?
He's 15 years older than me.
He's 15 years older. Okay, cool. Yep.
Wow, you're like what, 60? How old are you?
I'm 45. Well, I'm not telling my age. I'm thankful. Yeah, so he's 61.
I'm older than you.
You know you was older than me.
Gina B, I had a birthday yesterday.
I know. Did you party? Did you drink too much?
Believe it or not, we started this show. We were supposed to start at 6:05. We were a little late. My hangover subsided at about 3:30 this afternoon.
That's
just
good.
in time for you guys. So what traits would you ladies say, or what mistakes, and don't limit it to women, but Gina B, you are engaged. You've been married.
I am married.
You're married. I'm married. Not as long. So getting ready to start, half the time and longer. So, but what advice would you all give, because we had a few more minutes, about 8-9 minutes, would you say are the biggest mistakes people make when deciding, is this the person I'm going to be for better or worse with, or what they need to tell themselves to say, hey, are you in this for better or for better? Because sometimes it's not them, it's us, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll jump in with one. I would say one of the things that I looked for and got a sense of pretty early was ability to be resilient. What does that person do in the face of adversity? Do they, lay in their bed for 3 months and they can't deal with it? Or do they pick it back up, keep it moving? How resilient, how well does that person recover from a bad situation? And that's actually more important than people think, because it speaks to, how they'll handle your relationship. If it's a bad situation, are they going to just say, the hell with it? Or are they going to jump in and they're going to try and fix it? So I think that's a key trait.
I think that's a good one.
I think that's a good one too. I think
before Letitia answers, any more mistakes you think people make?
Being superficial. Beauty fades, and you want someone who has a good, and if physical fitness is important to you, which is important to a lot of people, right? Like, so you want somebody who, looks good, wants to keep themselves looking good. It's not, it doesn't hurt to get together with a person who has a little bit of vanity, because, they'll want to keep themselves in shape for themselves, like trying to enforce that for you, the picker. Like, I want her to, like, men always complain, well, she got fat. And then they complain about it and they browbeat their wife because they feel like, okay, well, she gained a lot of weight, whatever. Pick a woman who's, too vain to let herself get out of hand.
Yeah. Mrs. Critic will just stop eating. Like,
yeah,
she knew what she signed up for. She knew, no.
But she's doing it for herself, right? Like, so that's how she wants to look.
I'd like to think it's all for me. No, go ahead.
I do.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, 2 things. I think people aren't honest with themselves.
Okay.
If you want to stay home, be a stay-home wife, then that's what you marry.
You own that, right?
Own it.
Right.
If you vain, marry somebody that's vain. Because you can't be browbeating your wife about her gaining weight with your big old belly.
True.
That makes absolutely no sense.
True.
Yeah.
And my husband likes fluffy women. I know that's right, Milo. And I think the third thing that people do wrong is that they don't look besides today. They don't look for the future. They look about what they're doing today. It's fun today. He blowing my back out today.
Yep. Right.
And then what happens 20? You wake
They
up
don't
and
take
20 years.
Right.
He sleep on your back.
He's right. He ain't blowing no backs out. His back hurt.
My mother, the wise Bobby Jean Levy, says that old age ain't pretty. Everybody get old and ugly. That sounds horrible to say, but you don't look like you did when you were 25 or whatever. Mm-mm. I think that's tough for folks. But I do think the biggest thing that I heard, though, is people are very superficial and selfish. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're human.
I know very short people that have, I got to have somebody 6'5". I think that's crazy. I think
well, it's not how they want to feel. That's more about them than it is about anything.
Is it what
they
it is?
want to, yeah, because a lot of women. I like men that are a lot taller than me.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any of this.
But,
by the way,
no, right? It's your choice,
right?
It's your choice, but it's also really more about how you want to feel. Like I like to feel smaller than the man that I'm with. It makes me feel.
I'm just getting at, in the grand scheme of things, that looks, the looks, the weight, all those things are here, whereas the traits you were talking about before that made you a ride or die are here. That's all I'm trying to say, is that, okay, that's cool, but I'd rather have somebody who was just super down for me and I really enjoy being around, and maybe she not be that cute.
Mm. Well, you have to be able to grow together too, because
you know what I'm
saying?
saying?
Change, but you have to be able to change together.
Not that I am saying that about Mrs. Critic. Let's just put that out there.
Because you can stay on our couch.
What we got a long? Can you read that? I can't see.
Yeah, one consideration in picking a mate could be how they handle family member needs. Do they? I can't see the rest.
Do they call or go check on mom or dad or grandma, etc.? If not, it's a warning sign.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great point.
What Mama always said, look how he treat his mama. If he
That
treat
is
his
so
mama
true.
like crap, you better run.
I have been on dates with men. Like I was a queen of the one and done date for a long time, and I've been on
Instagram career too.
Shut up. Anyway, so I was. But if a man even said anything negative about his mother, like, yeah, my mother and I don't get along. Like, I can't stand my mother. Like, okay, we're done, because that is how you treat women. Like, that is a reflection. Or on the other side, you can't be too much of a mama's boy either. Like, that is a problem.
He said, what if mama was a bulldozer? Well, now mama been beating on you all your life and stuck you in the attic. We can talk about that one.
Right.
I mean, realistically, you gotta unpack that, because that will show up somewhere in your relationship. Right. It really will. And you don't.
They believe in black therapy. People don't, but
black folks need therapy more than anybody. Let's just put that out there, right? We probably have the most trauma from everything around, which
we have a lot of trauma.
Which in parts, not justifying it, I can understand why some people are so me, because they haven't, they've been denied a lot. Maybe they grew up in poverty and didn't have much, or, maybe they couldn't afford nice clothes or makeup, and, people call them ugly or whatever, and they value beauty that much more. So I get it. I don't know how we get past. I mean, obviously talking about it helps, but.
And don't get married first until you unpack that.
Absolutely. Broke people shouldn't get married at all.
Oh, what about money?
No, broke in.
Oh, broke in. Okay.
We should fix ourselves.
Oh, I was like, broke people. Okay.
Right, I was about to say.
Broke in. Excuse me.
Yes, I do agree with that.
Yeah, because
I have to go. I mean, clearly with everything that I have, I had 2 sick parents. I took care of both of them at the same time, taking care of him. And I was like, find me somebody couch quickly.
Yeah, because you end up, very stressed out, and your life will suffer.
And then I'll be jumping in the wrong person's bed. Then the cycle continues. Right? So we got to have you back. I told you warm up second half.
Gina B.
Yes.
I'm gonna get everybody a minute to give any closing thoughts, advice. I'm going to thank my guest before we run out of time.
Thank you for having me.
Matter of fact, you can go first. You're the guest. Closing thoughts on the show and any final words of pearls of wisdom you want to hand out.
Yeah, well, first, congratulations. I mean, I've been watching you since you've been in the front room drinking your applesauce.
Thank you.
I'm honored to be here, so I appreciate that. Thank
I
you,
appreciate
Gina B,
that.
for letting me sit in your chair. I think the biggest thing for me is, people need to turn to whoever their spiritual person is, their higher being,
Right.
before they go jumping in a relationship and anything else.
A lot of times people put that out the equation these days. They think,
Yep.
that's just fake person in the sky. But
Absolutely. But happy holidays, everybody.
all right. And thank you. Gina B, real quick.
That's my kid.
Just
We know
closing
you're right.
thoughts on this topic would just be, sometimes, put your own needs aside for another person. Don't be superficial and try to figure out a way to have a happy relationship with the one that you're with.
Right. And mine, final from Kris the Critic, I do think we should be honest with ourselves, who we are, what we want, and know our flaws. Too many times, it's easy for us to point out everybody else's flaws. Well, she's too this, or she's too that, and she needs to do this. But as soon as I talk about myself, crickets. So once we know our own flaws, we can become better people, and better people attract better people.
Amen.
So that's all I got, people. Letitia, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you
I
for
hope
having me.
you will come back again. Gina B, I got a joke on you. Before we go, she said, "Is that my butt in the camera? Could they see that?"
Really? Bye.
Anyway, peace, y'all. See y'all next Wednesday.
I press decline and you keep calling me. Give you some love and you want all of it. I'm out here working, nigga, get a grip. I'm just trying to touch a million. You just wanna coexist. I say you clingy and you contradict. Give you my heart, you think it's counterfeit. Give you my word and you won't trust in it. What's the point of loving me if you don't know what trust is? I need